Hey guys, this is Venom coming at you with another video. Today we're going to be talking about a 1-bar heavy attack Arcanist build for PvE for solo and 4-man content. Take a look at the character sheet first. We got over 31k max mag, 26k health, 13k stam. Spell criticals 56.1, spell penetrations 10,299, spell resistance is 21,255, physical resistance is 16,899. We got all 64 points in the max magic underneath attributes. We have the Thief Mundus Stone. This is going to increase your weapon and spell critical strike ratings by 2,180. We have max health, max magicka, just blue food, like make melon parmesan. Alright, we'll take a look at the sets. Lightning Staff for the Sergeant, Precise Trait, Poison Damage Enchantment. 2-piece provides max health, 3-piece health recovery, 4-piece weapon and spell damage. 5-piece, when you deal damage with a heavy attack, you gain a stack of Sergeant's Focus for 5 seconds, increasing the damage of your heavy attacks by 645 per stack. This effect can occur once every second, stacks up to 4 times. We are running 6 pieces light and 1 piece heavy. All Divines, max magic enchantments. For your head is Slime Crawl. This provides 771 critical chance. Chest is your heavy Sergeants. The other set is Infallible Aether. 2-piece provides 657 critical chance, 3-piece Minor Slayer at all times, increasing your damage done to dungeon and trial, and arena monsters 5%. 4-piece provides 129 weapon and spell damage. It's a double 5-piece. It gives another layer of 657 critical chance. And the 5-piece, your heavy attacks deal an additional 900 damage to monsters. Enemies you damage with fully charged heavy attacks are afflicted with minor vulnerability for 10 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 5%. The rest of the set is your waist, hands, legs, and feet. Your necklace and ring, Sergeants, Bloodthirsty, weapon and spell damage, enchantments. And the other ring is Oaken Soul, also Bloodthirsty, weapon and spell damage, enchantment. While equipped, you are unable to swap between your primary and backup weapon sets, and you gain Minor Berserk, Minor Courage, Major Brutality, Major Sorcery, Major Prophecy, Major Savagery, Minor Force, Minor Protection, Major Resolve, Minor Mending, Minor Fortitude, Minor Endurance, Minor Heroism, Minor Slayer, Minor Aegis, and Empower. Alright, we'll take a look at the skills. Inspired Scholarship. Etch a series of runes onto your weapon that pulse with power once every 3 seconds. Each pulse enhances your class abilities, and striking an enemy with 1 deals an additional 3,733 magic damage and generates crux if you have none. While slotted on either ability bar, you gain Major Brutality, Major Sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage done by 20%. Yes, we already have Oaken Soul, which provides that buff, but we're just using it for the first part. Escalating Rune Blades. Craft a series of pocketful runes before launching them at a foe, dealing over 3,000 damage each. Magic damage and generating crux. The last rune explodes, dealing damage to all enemies within 8 meters of the target. This ability deals 3% increased damage for each active crux when cast. So if you have 3 of these, it increases by a total of 9%. Next is Tentacular Dread. Infuse your arm with abyssal magic to form tentacles that lash out at your foes, dealing over 12,000 frost damage. Enemies are mobilized for 3 seconds and marked with abyssal ink for 20 seconds. You deal 5% increased damage to enemies drenched in abyssal ink. Consume all crux and increase Tentacular Dread damage by 20%, and damage to foes drenched in abyssal ink by 2% per crux spent. So that goes up to a total of 6%. So you want to try to generate up to 3 of your runes, and then use Tentacular Dread. Next is Reconstructive Domain. This is going to provide you and your team a heal over time. If you don't need the heal over time, again, these skills are interchangeable. This is just for a playable build for solo and 4-man content. So draw forth your tome to invoke the Leviathan of the Abyssal Sea to conjure a vortex of eldritch power. Standing in this vortex grants you and your allies Minor Courage, Minor Fortitude, Minor Intellect, and Minor Endurance, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 215, and your health, magic, and stam recovery by 15%. Those buffs are already provided by Oaken Soul, so if you're on Oaken Soul builds, these ain't going to help you with that, but it will help other people in your team if they're not. The main thing you want to run this for is the other part of this. The Vortex also heals you and your allies for 18,931 health over 20 seconds. Next is your heal or group heal. You can heal other people with this. The Evolved Rune Mend. Craft is a series of adaptive apocryphal runes that propel them at yourself or an ally in front of you. The rune heals for 4,733 health 3 times and an additional 5,319 health over 6 seconds, and it generates a crux. Each active crux reduces the cost of this ability by 3%. That can go up to 9%. Your ultimate, the Tide King's Gaze. Tear open the fabric of the Erebus and to summon a scion of Hermaeus Mora. This being cast forth a beam that rends asunder reality for 8 seconds that deals 4,347 magic damage to enemies within 5 meters every 0.5 seconds. The beam automatically follows the initial target and hunts for a new one within 8 meters if it is slain. So some of these skills, like I was saying a second ago, these could be swapped out depending on what you want to do. Herald of the Tome. Underneath the passives, Warp Fate, when you generate or consume crux, increasing your critical damage and critical healing by 12% for 7 seconds. So you want to always generate and then consume crux, generate, consume crux to maximize your passives on your guy. That's why we have these skills here to help generate and use the crux. The other morph, Tentacular Dread, is a stamina version. It goes at 50% health, it does 100% extra damage, and it also heals you, and it will generate a crux for you. But you need to also be able to spend your crux. So depending on how you want to set your guy up, so there's other skills in a second we'll get into to show that you can swap out and still benefit from your passives. This is just how we're set up at the moment. Harness Quintessence. You master the warp and weft of your very soul. When you are restored, magical or stamina, increase your weapon and spell damage by 5% for 10 seconds. Psychic Legion. Your attacks wound the mind with hectical knowledge, increasing damage dealt by status effects by 15% and status effect chance by 75%. This is one of the main reasons I would suggest trying the Arcanist. You don't have to have a charged weapon trait to put status effects on stuff. You can run a different trait like Sharpened or Precise, whatever, use whatever trait you want to run, and still be able to get those status effect chance. You might be asking, well, why were you running the Poison Glyph on your guy a minute ago? So I wanted to make sure that if I'm swapping out skills, for example, say I want to run Elemental Susceptibility. If someone in my group isn't running this, this is going to put Major Breach on the target, reducing their physical and spell resistances by 5,948. Every 7.5 seconds, the enemy is afflicted with burning, chilled, and concussion status effects. So that's going to increase the damage 15%. Splintered Secrets. What they don't know can kill them. Increase your physical and spell penetration by 991 per hell ability slotted. Our current bonus is 3,964. If you start swapping out some of these skills here or some of the other ones down in here, you will lose some of your passives for this. That's going to give you your penetration. So keep that in mind. You may want to adjust your weapon to make up for your loss of penetration. Underneath these other skills, there is some interesting stuff in here as well. Again, you can swap these out if need be. The Impervious Rune Ward is an excellent ward to run on your guy. Depending on the content, if you're taking a lot of damage, I would suggest swapping this out, changing out your weapon, going over with a Sharpened trait instead of Precise to make up for your penetration loss. You'll lose a little bit of crit. This will provide you a ward of 17,750 for 1 second, and then 10,649 for 5 seconds if the shield persists. Both shields scale off your max health. The first time you take damage, the shield retaliates. It deals 3,440 magic damage to the attacker, scaling off your armor. This will also consume your crux, and it will heal you for over 3,000 health, scaling off your max health per crux spent. So again, if you wanted to swap this out and use this to consume your crux, use these here to generate your crux, you can, and just run a ward in place. That works fine. This right here, though, just gives you a little bit extra damage where you want to deal it at. Instead of getting hit, you can put the damage where you want to put it at. The Crux Weaver armor will give you major resolve. Keep in mind you already have that from Oakensole. While the armor persists, taking damage applies minor breach, reducing the armor of your attacker by 2,974 for 6 seconds. Blows against your armor also generate Crux once up to every 5 seconds. It's not a bad skill. The Rune Guard of Still Waters calls forth a complex rune granting you and your group minor resolve for 20 seconds, increasing your armor by 2,974 after 1 second. Spell Weave immobilizes enemies within 7 meters for 3 seconds. You gain minor protection for 20 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 5%. The minor resolve is not bad to run. That's not provided by Oaken Soul. And that can just give you a little bit more resistances if you need it. It's only got a 10-meter radius. Keep that in mind, though. This here is one of the better skills to run in your group if you're trying to push more damage for your group. Ruinous Pool. Etch an amorphous rune onto your enemy's mind, paralyzing them in fear after a 1 second delay, stunning them for 4 seconds. This applies minor vulnerability and minor brittle for 20 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 5% and their critical damage taken by 10%. We already have 100% uptime minor vulnerability because we're running Infallible Aether. If you do run a different set, this will help provide vulnerability to your group, so that's good to run. But the minor brittle would be the main reason you want to run this, just to increase the critical damage taken by 10%. If you use it on a monster, the paralysis lasts for 8 seconds. Sometimes I will swap this skill out. Keep in mind it's only a 15-meter range, so you got to get a little closer. Sometimes I'll put it on here if I don't need the heal over time. If the group is fine, if they don't need it, then I'll swap it out, put that on in place of it. The passives here: Aegis of the Unseen, from a secret soldier within your mind, a defense against arcane forces without. While a beneficial soldier apocryph ability is slotted, active on you, increase your armor by 1,980. Wellspring of the Abyss. We don't have any current bonus for this because none of the stuff is slotted, but again, if you do put some of these on, you can benefit from this. This bubbles up from the depths of your psyche, increasing your health, magic, and stamina recovery by 129 for each soldier or apocryphal ability slotted. So again, if you wanted to swap some of these out, that you could benefit from your passive and get more recovery to your guy. Some of these are good to have. Like I said, you could swap this out for really any of these here if you wanted to. Circumvented Fate. Casting the Arcanist ability warps and weaves the fate around you, granting you and your group members minor evasion for 20 seconds, reducing your damage from area attacks by 10%. It can occur once every 5 seconds. Placable Outcome. Will the Arcanist is the absolute. When you consume Crux, you gain 4 ultimate. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds. Again, you want to make sure that you are consuming your Crux. It's one of these that will consume the Crux for you. If you wanted to run your Ward, the Ward will also help consume Crux. So you want to generate and consume. Alright, Circumvented Rune Forms. There's some other skills in here that could be interesting. Yeah, this is a kind of a crazy heal. There's a couple different morphs of it. I just don't like getting stuck in the channel that this does for 4.5 seconds. It's got a 22-meter range by 4 meters wide, but it can heal for 46,137 over 4.5 seconds. The beam heals up for 50% more in proportion to the severity of the target's wounds for this cascading fortune morph. Consume Crux to also restore 728 magic or stamina per Crux spent to your allies over 4.5 seconds. The other morph, the Curative Surge. The beam gradually heals for more the longer you channel it, up to 192% more at the end of its duration. This skill here is another good skill as well. You can help provide you and your allies a damage shield. Up to 4 allies in front of you, granting a shield that absorbs 9,211 damage for 6 seconds. Recasting on the target. Already shielded grants a new shield, 30% stronger. Reconstructive Domain, we already went over. Apocryphal Gate. Again, this skill here is a little wonky to try to use. It's okay, but I mean, trying to get it to work right and get it to place right where you want it can be a challenge depending on the elevation of the ground. The passives: Healing Tides. You master the Weave of Fate and Abyssal Water, increasing your healing done 3% for each active Crux. Hideous Clarity. You stare too long into the abyss. When you generate Crux, you restore 225 magic or stamina, whichever maximum is higher. Iteration. Knowledge is power. Your excessive scholarship increases your magic and stamina recovery 18%. Intricate Rune Forms. Your status as a luminous recedes in cost and increase the strength of your damage shields by 10%. Underneath the Destruction Staff skill line, a couple of things you could run. The Unstable Wall of Elements is an okay skill. Elemental Susceptibility, if someone in your group, you know, if you're running, if they don't have this on, you can always slot this as well. Just make sure you grab your passives for your Destruction Staff. Light armor passives, grab all of these. We don't have any medium pieces. You don't need the passives. The heavy armor, grab those. Underneath Undaunted, just make sure you grab your 2 passives here. Undaunted Command, activating a synergy, restores 4% of your health, magic, and stamina. Undaunted Metal, this is going to give you, we got a current of 4% because we only have light and heavy on. So this increases your max health and stamina 2% per type of armor. We are a high elf on this build. Whatever race you are, just make sure you grab your passes for it. The high elf I would recommend for a magic character. It's probably the highest overall damage for any of the races, and it's good for resource sustain. Underneath Spell Recharge, when you activate an ability, you restore 625 magic or stamina based on whichever is lowest. This can occur every 6 seconds. When you're using an ability with a channel or cast time, you take 5% less damage. This also works when you're just doing your heavy attacks. This counts as a channel cast time ability, so it's mid-damage mitigation. Cerebane's Boon increases your max magic by 2,000. Elemental Talent gives you 258 weapon and spell damage. Okay, take a look at the champion tree. Underneath the blue, we have Fighting Finesse. It's going to increase your damage and critical healing done by a total of 8%. Weapon Expert increases their damage done with light and heavy attacks by a total of 20%. Deadly Aim increases the damage done with single target attacks by a total of 6%. Wrathful Strikes provides 205 weapon and spell damage. For the red tree, we have Strategic Reserve. Gain 30 health recovery for every 10 ultimate you have. The more ultimate you have, the more health recovery you have coming back. It's a great way to sustain. Slippery, when you're affected with a disabling effect, you automatically break free at no cost. After using this effect, you become winded, cannot trigger this effect or others like it for 21 seconds. I like to say this every time, guys, if you're running Scalecaller Peak, there's mechanics in there that you have to get frozen in, and if you have this on your guy, you're going to break free automatically and you're going to die. So make sure you swap this out for something else. Any other one is fine. Bastion is a good choice if you're running the Ward. Fortified, this is going to give you 1731 armor. Balanced Vitality gives you 1400 health. The green tree, we have Treasure Hunter. This is going to increase the quality of the items you find in treasure chest. Rationer adds 30 minutes to the duration of your food and drink. Meticulous Disassembly, this increases the chances of extracting down your wood, blacksmithing, clothing, jewelry. This gives you back more stuff when you break them down. Steed's Blessing, this is going to increase your out of combat movement speed by a total of 20%. Alright guys, I think that pretty much covers it. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you do, please like, follow, and subscribe, and I'll try to get back to y'all with another one. Later.